It's probably why a lot of you are here. Mass multi-entry on DraftKings and FanDuel for NASCAR DFS. We got a lot to get to. Game selection, ownership, leverage, recency bias. It's part 4 of this NASCAR DFS series, and we're starting right now. What's up, guys? Joe Holka here. Welcome to another daily fantasy sports and betting video. If this is your first time here and you want to become a profitable DraftKings player and get better at betting, start now by subscribing to the channel. Make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss anything along the way. And if you're already a Holkamaniac, you know exactly what time it is. Smash that like button and we'll get rolling. I truly believe that proper game selection can be the difference between being a profitable and non-profitable player on DraftKings and FanDuel. So I was excited to kind of get Nick's take on what the proper games to go after in NASCAR are.
It's funny, me personally, when I got into DFS, I was a cash game player so I started with college basketball and then I went over to NFL as well, way back when college basketball, before it got kicked off and then brought back or whatever. So I would just play my optimal lineups and do really well that way and be, kind of low on the conservative level. And then as I grew as a DFS player, I really started to embrace variance and also just statistical variance and just using my models and distributions more than just average projections. And then also understanding more concepts about playing against the field and the market, et cetera. So I've much more become a GPP player. So you'll see me playing basically 100% GPPs. I rarely do cash games. I want to do more cash games this year because I enjoy them. I think they're fun to try to build a lineup that will beat one other person, or if you play 100 head-to-heads, at least try to beat most of them. So I do think that aspect is fun, but I'm just way better as a GPP player. I think my ROI in GPPs is just so much greater than in cash games. The main slate, it's 150 max. I'm playing 20 to 50, occasionally 150. And then I'm generally looking at 20 max. I'll throw in entries in the 3 max, but it's just kind of, I'm throwing in 3 of my lineups I've already created kind of thing. And then some of the higher stakes stuff, of course, is like, you're only throwing in 2 or 3 entries for NASCAR. I know in NFL, you can still throw 50 or 80 or whatever, but in NASCAR, just because it's so much smaller than NFL in terms of prize pools and entries. Usually you're throwing in like 2 or 3 lineups in the $400 or $200, whatever it is that they have at the time.
By the way, guys, if you've ever found value in any of my videos or live streams, one of the best ways to support what I'm doing here for free is to throw me the follow over on Twitter. If you're new to the community, I'm really doing my best to build up the Instagram community as well. So if you want to be a part of that, definitely throw me the follow over there. Really appreciate it. To kind of expand a little bit on game selection, I want to talk about cash games in NASCAR, but also these GPP contest structures that we've seen earlier in the year.
Cash game strategy, you tend to pick drivers that start further back and can work their way forward because you get place differential and finishing position. And if they wreck, you don't lose as much. Whereas if a driver starting 5th wrecks, he's going to really hurt you in cash games. So floor and upside actually correlate a lot stronger in NASCAR than they do maybe in like NFL or something. Yeah. This structure is amazing.
I was just saying that. So I was just looking at, so it's a 2x multiplier, which is fantastic. 20% of the field, which is fine, but 13% to first. The top 10 is only 28. Like, this is a really nice tournament.
And the min cash is double your entry. So I love seeing that. So I really like the structure. And so I definitely pay attention to the structure of the tournament. I'll mostly then aside from playing the main slate, which is or the main GPP, which I think usually is around 20% of the field. I'll try to pick ones that pay more like 25 to 28% of the field and have a little bit flatter structure. That's just my preference, just because it's so hard to win a GPP. It's so hard. But it is pretty easy to finish kind of high. And so I like that it's a little flatter. You get a little more bang for your buck if you finish 10th in a flatter structure than if you finish 10th in a top heavy structure or even 20th or whatever. So I'll generally pick flatter GPPs other than the main slate, where I'll throw in maybe 20 to 50. Or if I really like either the track or the structure, I might max enter it.
Look at DraftKings getting some of these 2x min cashes now. I like that.
It's really
we talked about this a lot during NFL because I was convinced that part of the reason some of the tournaments got a little bit tougher to beat, specifically at kind of the mid stakes, like playing the 1K and the 1500. The 1K to start the year was a 2x min cash, and then they moved it to a 1500 and it was a 1.6 the rest of the way. I think it was even a 1.5 at some weeks. So like, yeah, like maybe that's not that big of a deal, but over the course of a 20-week season, that really matters, especially if you're playing primarily GPPs. So that's awesome, man. I've actually seen this in some of the niche stuff that we've gone through. Like DraftKings is definitely capable of doing good structures. They want people like to enjoy their NASCAR experience, come back for other ones. They need to make these contests more flat. They need to make them the 2x min caches. So that's really nice to see. Love my Amazon crew. Always got time for you guys. So if you like my work and want to support my work, the number one way you can do so for free is by bookmarking this Amazon link and using it in your day-to-day shopping. You can also use one of the ones in the description below. However you get there, it doesn't matter what you buy at that point. You're doing your part to support the channel as long as you're using one of my links. So I'd really appreciate that, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you're new to the Amazon crew. I'll make sure and give you a personal shout out on the next video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I've compared NASCAR to golf a lot throughout this series, so one thing that is definitely a spot where it's pretty similar is trying to leverage the field in terms of ownership in tournaments. So we talked a little bit about that, but also about there only being a few people in the industry really doing content for this sport that you can actually gain a lot just be kind of going the other way.
The whole idea behind Daytona isn't making predictions on what's going to happen. It's basically just saying, how do I outsmart the market in DFS? If 60% or 70% of the people are going to have Martin Truex Jr., why would I play him anywhere near 60 or 70% if half the field wrecks anyways? Maybe I try to get a little leverage on the field and only play him 40% or something like that. I can't say like, I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to have a great race, or I think he's going to have a terrible race. I have no idea at restrictor plate racing. Wow. Literally no idea. All I'm doing is essentially playing probabilities of whether a driver will end up in the winning lineup or not, and then leveraging then.
Yeah, I'd imagine the ownership is probably pretty tightly clustered between a few of you guys that are doing this very well. And once your content comes out, that's got to have a pretty big factor on ownership in general, just those few kind of people that are doing content for this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always created in the years past, or especially last year, I created an ownership model. And one of the factors that went into ownership model was, tout picks. So what were the top touts in the industry picking as their picks for each week or each race? And that would actually go into the model. And most of the weeks, my R squared for just predicted versus actual ownership was above 0.8, and in some cases even pushing 0.9.
That's impressive. So that's got to be a huge edge for you then, just to kind of bake that into your model. Essentially,
whereas compared to the race, the highest I can get for any race is around 0.75 for finishing position.
Right.
So and that's the highest, right? So most of my ownership weekends are far more accurate, than race weekends in terms of modeling. So that's actually a good thing for me. I don't want to be as accurate on race predictions as on ownership. Well, I guess if it's reversed, then you can kind of just play the race projections more than the field is. But I actually like it reversed because people end up playing a little too chalky or have certain kind of biases that leads them to certain drivers. And then you can just kind of get away from them when, the model is only about, let's say, 60% confident in something and people are 80% confident in it.
Is there recency bias in NASCAR, and how can we kind of leverage that into GPP success?
There's recency bias, but there are also hot streaks, or cold streaks. So you have to be able to separate what is a legitimate hot streak versus recency bias, or a legitimate cold streak versus recency bias. So one of the prime examples is somebody's like a couple of years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was having some struggles, and people are like, I'm never playing Dale Earnhardt Jr. again. And then he goes on and finishes like third in a race or something. I'm like, well, I played him, so I'm glad you guys didn't. But, there's just things that happen in races. Maybe he made a mistake in one race. It doesn't mean he's going to make a mistake in the next race. You'll see every driver make a mistake throughout the year. What you really want to know is, how is the car running? The car matters much more than the driver, or the team, I should say, matters much more than the specific driver itself, for the most part. Not all the time, but for the most part. If the cars are performing well, if there's speed in the cars, these drivers are all razor thin in terms of talent separation from each other, for the most part. So it's like 80% car, 20% driver. I think this year will really be maybe 90%. It'll be 90% variance, maybe, just because of the pack racing. I don't know, but I think this year, especially with the pack racing, you can't really go on hot or cold streaks. People always say, oh, Jamie McMurray is too aggressive at Daytona. I'd never play him at Daytona or whatever, but he's won the Daytona 500 a couple times as well. So which Jamie McMurray are you picking, right? Yeah. It's kind of interesting. So you want to make sure that you're focusing more on team performance. So in NASCAR, there's teams, right? There's 3 drivers on the same team, and they all drive Team Penske cars, right? So Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski. How is Team Penske performing? Or how is Ford, all of the Ford cars in general? So that would be Penske, Stewart Haas, and then a couple other ancillary teams as well driving Fords. How are the Fords performing, or how are the Chevys? That's what you want to focus on much more, is these kinds of trends within the teams and within the manufacturers. Whereas, oh, Dale Earnhardt Jr. broke his shifter lever. That's, he crashed the next race, and then he blew an engine. So I'm never playing him because somehow it's his fault the engine blew, right? It's so you really want to, separate what is just weird things happening from what is actual trend.
Been doing this a long time, guys, so if I really can help in one way more than others, it's definitely with the one-on-one coaching. It's been really nice kind of getting to know some of you on a personal level, and if you do kind of want to invest in yourself, maybe you've been playing DFS for a while and you just want to take your game to that next level, it's one of the best ways you can go about doing that. So joeholka.com/coaching if you want a little bit more info, but if you just want to continue to learn the group setting, it's really not a big deal, guys. I appreciate all you guys just as much. You don't realize, though, if you have an Amazon account, and a lot of people do, you can automatically get access to a free Twitch Prime subscription, which does support the channel. You get access to a premium Discord chat as well, where like a lot of the talk and kind of chatter happens from the community in between live streams, in between videos. So definitely take advantage of that. As we kind of wrap up this NASCAR series, everyone loves an epic bad beat story. Is there like a period of time after the race where you're just like sweating to see if there's going to be some sort of stack correction, or like, so there's post-race inspections, obviously these cars as well. So is there a point in time, like does DK like immediately grade these contests, or is there like kind of a window of where you're just waiting to hope things don't go wrong?
So this is actually a really good question, because NASCAR just announced a new rule change a couple days ago as far as the winner. So and also in the inspection process. So in the past, NASCAR would just, if it was a post-race inspection failure, they would just be like, okay, well, the win stands, but we're not going to grant you the points for the race. But as far as DraftKings would go, the win stands, the DraftKings points all stay the same, whatever. And they would essentially be immediately graded after the checkered flag. There was a very short wait time because NASCAR has this electronic loop data. They actually put electronic timing and scoring inside the track, and then each car has a transponder or whatever. They'll know pretty much right away at most tracks what the finishing order is. There's occasionally, if two cars like are battling for 13th and 14th and they finish neck and neck, they may have to do a photo finish or something. Very rarely is it ever for the win, but it does occasionally happen. And then at restrictor plate races, Daytona 500 or Talladega, you will see a little bit of wait time while they finalize the finishing order, because everybody's in a big pack, right? And especially if there's a wreck right at the end, they need to sort out the finishing order from the wreck and when the caution's thrown. So there occasionally are times where you need to wait an hour or two for it to be finalized. But one of my famous stories is I actually was leading the Daytona 500 slate going into the last lap in 2016. I was actually in Daytona. DraftKings sent me to Daytona for the race.
Oh, you were there. That's
I was
even better.
In pit road. I was in Denny Hamlin's pit, or right next to Denny Hamlin's pit. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys know Stevie TPFL, Stevie Young over at Roto Grinders. He and I were watching the race down in the pits, and Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin come across the finish line just side by side. And we were like, who won? We have no idea. About 15 seconds later, we hear a roar in Denny Hamlin's pit that they had won. But for me, the roar wasn't who won the race. I'm looking at my phone. I see $120,000. I was like, yes, I won the slate. 10 seconds later, it refreshes, and I only finished 8th. And I was like, because I was like, Stevie, I won. And then it refreshed, and I was like, are you kidding me? And that was a $70,000 swing on the last lap right there, or whatever, or the update. So
brutal, man. That's a brutal beat.
Make sure you wait at least a couple minutes until after the race ends before you start celebrating.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. It's like so many people in the NBA or whatever. Like, I guess there's a decent amount of sports that are like this now. It's just there becomes two sweats. Like, your sweat until the game's end, and then your sweat for stack corrections on stuff at the top where obviously it really matters. So yeah,
and fortunately for NASCAR, that's minimized, other than usually like plate races. But I was the victim of not a stat correction, but but just I celebrated too soon.
If you made it through the entire 4-part series about NASCAR DFS on DraftKings and FanDuel, and you want to become a profitable DFS player and get better at betting, start now by hitting that subscribe icon in the bottom right-hand corner so you don't miss anything. I have a ton of DFS courses available that are for other sports as well, so make sure if you're just here for NASCAR, check out the PGA course, check out the MLB course. There's going to be a ton of other ones coming your way as well. And if you made it all the way through this series, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.